Kerry Eggers from the Portland Tribune right here.
Gotcha.
Have you ever been to Corvallis before, and did you take the job sight unseen, or did you come out here for a visit?
No, I didn't think I needed to come out for a visit and see it. You get a great feel. I think Bob and his staff, when they came and we communicated, did a tremendous job of showing me the vision, what was here. You know, you see it on pictures. Facilities are outstanding. They're wonderful. They're fantastic. They're a big part of it. The vision of growing the facilities is great. But again, to me, it's the people that are behind the doors that matter the most. We're going to make strides in those facilities. I'm very excited about that because it makes it better for the student athletes. I've been here one time, jogged down that ramp, and didn't win. So my second feeling is a lot better than it was my first 3 hours here. I promise you that much. Yeah, Utah. I believe it was 06, I think. 7? Yeah. I tried to forget. Sorry.
Ken Go with the Oregonian. You've been quoted, I hope accurately, that this was an important move for you to make for family reasons. Can you explain what about this community and what about this university made it so attractive to your family?
Well, again, that is true. Somebody read my mind because I've never publicly said that. I got asked that this morning, and I had never talked to anybody in the media about it, but it was already out there that I said that. So it's true. Somebody read my mind, so that's a good thing. The media sometimes is very smart. So it is. It's a great move for my family for a lot of reasons. It gets us into a position where we're very comfortable. And I think, again, it goes back to fit. And I can go on and on with fit, but I was at a great institution. I had an opportunity to coach some unbelievable young men the last 2 years and my last 4 years prior to that. But I know, as I've gone through this for many, many years, that when you sit back and you see from afar a program, and coaches, the coaching world is it's not as big as you think it is. This was always a place that I kind of thought that fits us. For my children, it's a tremendous opportunity for them to get back and get themselves in school where they need to be and take care of their business. So there's some family parts to it. That was not the driving force behind the whole thing. It's a great fit for our family, yes, but the driving force was, again, this is just where I believe I was told to go. And a lot of people think that's strange and weird, but that's how I work.
Gary Joe Becker from KGW, Portland. When did you decide that you were going to leave Wisconsin to come here?
As soon as I was offered the job at Oregon State. There wasn't a whole bunch of discussions. Once we went through the interview process and we both kind of communicated, I knew what I wanted to do, and I wouldn't have pursued it. I'm not a guy that goes out and pursue things that I don't want. And I talked to Stacy about it the night before, discussed it with our kids. She was all in from the beginning, and so the instant that it was offered to me, I accepted it on the spot and was very, very excited about it. And there was no turning me back or spinning me and going the other way. It wasn't that. It was instantaneous.
Gary, Gina Mizell from the Oregonian right here. To kind of piggyback off that last question, just can you and Bob both talk about just what the last week has been like? Obviously, these things move really quickly, and just the discussions that you guys had and just kind of how this all came to be so quickly.
So, Gary was always on our radar screen, and we thought that, maybe there would be an opening there that we could grab him. And once that was articulated from his representatives, then we set up the meeting on Tuesday and just went after it. Had some really good discussions, and I would say that it was all contingent on some other processes being filled. Gary needed to talk to the president on Wednesday morning. Also needed to talk to our faculty rep before we actually pulled the trigger on that.
I will add to that when I talked to Gary, I must have had a good 5 minutes worth of, trust me, incredible material on why he should want to come here, and he said, I'm coming. So I got cut short for good reasons.
For me, it was very emotional. Like I said, I had a tremendous team. I had tremendous kids, and you work together. But you know what? I'm going to be there for those young men. And an opportunity to reach out and go through that process is never easy. But it's just something that had to be done in that scenario. I was grateful. The decision was very, very, very simple. everybody wants to talk about why this and why that and da-da-da-da. That doesn't matter. I'm at a great university where I'm very lucky to be here, and Stacy and I are excited.
Coach Angie Machado with Rivals.com, Beaver Blitz. There's still some staff members from the past staff that are here. Will you look at them as well when you're evaluating your next staff?
Yeah, I absolutely will. I'm going to sit down and talk with the staff members that are here. Again, the key is to be patient and the proper fit for the young men in the program to fit the offense, the defense, and kind of the direction that we're headed is an important part of it. It's important that you surround yourself with good coaches and guys that you believe in. And like I mapped out earlier, that fit what I believe is the most important thing, and that's taking care of the young men first.
Gary, Dan Newsman from USA Today Sports. You alluded to this a little bit, I think, and also in your opening remarks, you said it was very, very obvious, very, very quickly, this is what you needed to do. What was very obvious, and why was it obvious?
Well, I would just go back to the fit. You grow up in certain scenarios in the game of coaching, if you will. There's so many things that I believe in, that I grew up in with Coach McBride. Kyle Whittingham and I have been together for lots of years, Lavelle Edwards. And I grew up just believing in some certain things I know I can get done here. There's the special kid that thinks he can get into school here that will do a tremendous job, and it's important to him to grow and develop himself. You can get kids from all over the country, and it's a university that is widely known to put kids in a position to succeed academically and get really a quality degree to move on through life. And there's a lot of feel that goes to it too. It's just I don't know exactly what the words are to express it, but you know what you're supposed to do when you're supposed to do it.
Have you talked to Coach Whittingham since you took the job?
Absolutely. I talked to him when it was moving along those lines, and Kyle and I usually talk once a week or so. He's a very good friend of mine, and I respect his opinion, and he had the opportunity to compete last year against Oregon State, and I asked him what he thought, and obviously he thought it was a quality university and it was a heck of a football game, and he was excited for me to be able to come here, and now I guess we got to coach against each other for the third time. So it's 1-on-1 right now. See what happens next.
2-1 for us.
Yeah, that's what's going up next.
Last one from me. Are there any assistant coaches that you're certain will be joining you at this point?
No, not yet. Well, hopefully first of next week or early next week we'll have the opportunity to start throwing some names out there of guys that are in for sure. I mean, there's obviously guys who I feel very good are going to come here, but I want to do it the right way first.
Gary, Lindsay Schnell from Sports Illustrated. Are you familiar with the roster at all? It seems to me that offensively they are basically built for anything. They could adapt to any sort of style.
Well, I've watched 2 or 3 games that I could just find on the tape that was within our mix of our tape at Wisconsin. So I sat back and watched some of that yesterday as I cleaned my office, which I started watching tape, so I got distracted, and Stacy's calling me and say, get home, we need to get the boys on the road. But I was able to watch 3 games quickly, and I see a team that plays hard. And Coach Riley, I don't know that well, but I know through respect of the coaching world and the time that I've had to spend with him actually communicating just coach to coach is maybe less than 10 minutes over the years. But I learned long ago, when my dad told me this many times, when you can learn something from somebody and you're talking with them, the best thing you can do is shut your mouth and listen. So really that's what I did with Coach Riley. He's a tremendous coach. His teams played very hard. They played well. They were sound within their schemes. And I see some athletes running around out there that the game means a lot to them, which is important. Individual numbers and names, I wish I knew them all right now. I'm going to work like crazy to get to know these kids as fast as I can. But it looked like a football team that I know this. I'm very excited to get to know the kids better and get into the offseason and work towards spring ball.
Gary, Steve Gress from the Corvallis Gazette-Times. There were 2 big announcements, obviously, on Wednesday. You taking the job here and the expansion of the Valley Football Center. How important is that going to be for what you guys want to do? How much will that help you to be able to, build what you want to build here?
Well, facilities are very important. Number one, for the young men, it allows them to be able to prepare to be a better football player. For instance, if you get an upgrade in your training room. It gives you a better opportunity to hopefully prehab instead of rehab, and that's something I always preach to the kids. If you get an opportunity to put yourself to have a better locker room and put yourself functionally moving through the day better, it's a great opportunity for them to become a better overall student athlete. So, and at the end, you know, kids like a lot of things, and I kind of like the same things they like. You know, nice facilities, it's pretty cool. You know, it's nice to have big time stuff that you walk in and it's as good as there is in the country, and that's exactly what we'll have when we get through this. And, you know, I will say this, you know, these kids aren't overly deprived right now. They're taken care of pretty well from what I see, and it's just awesome that we're able to move forward in that direction and become the best of the best. And for these young men, it's a tremendous opportunity.
Hi, Gary. Kristen Rogers, KEZI. As you mentioned, you won't have that first team meeting until after Christmas break. Can you tell me what that message to the team will be?
Oh, that'll be a long team meeting, probably really too long for the kids. It's an obnoxious meeting a little bit for myself. We've got to go through a lot, and I apologize in advance, guys, wherever you are out there. That first team meeting is going to be a minute. It's not going to be in and out. I'm not a big meeting guy. During the season, we'll meet at a team meeting. You know, one time we'll meet on Mondays after the game, and away we go. So we don't spend a lot of time in team meetings. But the first team meeting, we're going to go through our policy manual. I think it's important that we get on the same page, what my beliefs are, what our beliefs need to be as a team. We're going to talk about our leadership committee. We're going to vote for a leadership committee at that point and get those young men that the team wants to kind of you know, be their leaders, or they see as their leaders, because they do have a voice. Big believer for me anytime is that the kids need a voice. They need to be able to feel they can walk into my office, a coordinator's office, a position coach's office, and truly speak what they feel. If they have issues or concerns, they may not hear what they want to hear all the time, but at least I want them to understand that they can walk in and communicate. We'll get that done. But the big thing is letting them understand this is, there's two words in the world today that are used a lot that my definition, is way different than maybe a lot of people, and that's the word love and the word family. And there's one more that we always use in sports, it seems like, is the word trust. And if you break that down, those all kind of come back to family to me. And I want this football program to be a family, but you don't walk in the door and all of a sudden say, okay, guys, trust me, okay? I know you trust me, I'm going to be there for you. I can say that, but I got to earn that, and the assistant coaches got to earn that. And if we can get ourselves in a position to be a family, that means that we trust each other. That means when times are good, we're going to be there for each other. When times are bad, we're going to be there for each other. And the opportunity to have whatever comes our way, whatever adversity comes our way, we're going to be able to handle it because we can bond ourselves together and communicate. But that takes time, and I'm going to let them know. I know that takes time, but trust me on it. And I'm going to be there for them. I'm going to give them what they need. I'm going to hug them hard when it's good, and if it's wrong, we're going to get it fixed and make sure that they're heading in the right direction to be socially, academically, and athletically a great person.
Gary Warner-Strasbaugh from Rivals. Can you expand more on your offensive philosophy and you know, the transitional period with the personnel you have from going into what they're used to now what you're going to be implementing?
The key thing on offense and defense, regardless, is to make sure, excuse me, that you use the young men in your program to be as good as you can be. And you can't sit back and say, hey, we're going to be this or we're going to be that. We want to be a wide open offense, and we want to play at pace, like I talked about earlier, when needed. We also want to put ourselves in a position to be able to use the best 11, 15, 20 kids on our team, whoever they may be. So, for instance, if you got 4 or 5 wideouts that are your best wide receivers, and let's get them on the field a lot of the time. If we have some tight ends or very talented young men, let's make sure we use them. Maybe they can be used in space. Maybe they're used on the end line of scrimmage. What do our running backs do? They run well, they catch the ball well, they run the zone play well. What do our offensive linemen do? You know, are we a powers team? Are we a zone team? Are we a stretch team? How do we pass block? All those things. And the same thing is on defense. A lot of times people discuss and want to talk about, we're going to be a lot of talk about, are you an odd front defense? Are you an even front defense? Well, we're both, and it will depend on what we have within our kids in this program. But in the end, when it's all said and done, I want to be an offense, again, that stresses defensive. I wanted to stress defensive coordinators, and make sure that, again, we stretch the field vertically, we stretch it horizontally in the throw game and in the pass game. And on defense, we want to be very aggressive. We want to put ourselves in a position to keep those offenses off pace and not allow a quarterback to feel comfortable.
Gary, there have been a few programs here that have been really successful, most notably baseball, which won back-to-back national championships. Did you talk to any of the other head coaches, just even in the short time that you've been on campus today, and kind of got their take about what it takes to win here?
No, not down those lines. Shook a lot of hands, said hello, but I look forward to that opportunity. There's some very successful programs here, obviously, and the lay of the land, and there's nothing like experience, and experience is so important. So I look forward to spending time and getting the information that can help the young men in this football program win football games.
Your recruiting dead period, I think, starts this weekend, and then, so what is your plan there as far as keeping Oregon State's recruiting group, and then will you take any of the Wisconsin's recruiting group?
Well, first of all, we're going to recruit who we want to recruit and who we need to recruit. It's a little bit of always a delicate topic. I guess if I look at that, in my mind, there's young men that came to a school because of relationships, and there are other young men that may have came to a school because it was a destination for them or maybe where they grew up. They've always wanted to go there. So if I believe it's a young man that came to a program or was committed to a program because it was a relationship based with another coach, then I'll go recruit him. If I feel like in my mind that he went there because that's where he was supposed to go, where he grew up, then I'm going to leave that one alone. And that's kind of my theory on that and my belief. As far as reaching out to the kids in the program and support, or the recruits that are committed, it's very important to communicate with them. And again, start the feeling, family, trust, who we are. Ask them to do homework on what direction we're headed. So we'll get that done. We have a couple young men here on a visit right now, so you land and 3 hours later you got a couple recruits in town, so that's pretty good.
Hey Gary, Bob Lundeberg from the Albany Democrat-Herald. Have you talked with Chuckie Keeton at all since the news broke on Wednesday? And would a 50-year senior
Where are you going with that one?
No, I'm not going anywhere. I just was wondering if he reached out and congratulated you. I saw that he tweeted something. And would a 50-year senior quarterback, would that maybe be something, a transfer that you would look into for this program?
So you clarified where you're going with it. Okay, I got you. Let me say this. Yeah, Chuckie texted me. He said simply congratulations. Had a fantastic relationship with that. I'm sorry, guys. With that young man for a number of years. I don't know enough about the quarterbacks in the program. I really have no idea. We've got to sit back and look. We're always going to recruit, and you're always trying to recruit the best young men that you can. And if that's a freshman quarterback or a freshman offensive lineman or a junior college or a potential transfer at any position right now, I don't know enough to even really answer that question educated at all.
Gary, that's not working. Gary, under Mike Riley, the practices were open not only to the media but also to the public. Have you given any thought to what you'll do here in Corvallis?
I missed the first part of your question, I'm sorry.
Sorry, the practices were open not only to the media but also to the public. Have you given any thought to what you'll do here in Corvallis?
I'm sure we can trust the Beaver fans. Can we trust the media? I like to have open practices. I don't know if we'll sit back and say every practice is going to be open. During specific weeks. I'm not a real paranoid person, but I'm paranoid enough to try to protect us if we feel like we're in a bad spot. But I believe in having open practice. I want the fans to be there and support us. I would love to grow the spring game to be something special. I would love to grow the students to be involved in the spring game. There's things we can do, and I know the fraternities and the sororities here are pretty powerful from what I understand, and I'd like to get a little. We've got a lot of fields out there, and let's have a flag football games and play the championship at halftime of the spring game. Stuff like that's cool. I like that, and then it involves the students, it involves the fans, and it can involve the media. You guys can throw together a team too. That'd be good.
Gary, Austin Meek with the Register Guard in Eugene. I don't throw a good spiral, but I can try. You mentioned trust several times. You had a group of players at Wisconsin that I'm sure you were close to. Mm-hmm. Was that aspect of this decision difficult, and did you have a chance to communicate with them at all?
Yeah, it's the hardest part, and there's no question. I would just say this: those kids know I'm there for them now, and I will be in 10 years, and they know that. And I did get to talk to them. I got to have a team meeting with them, and the team meeting is very difficult. It's a hard time for me, but that's not the most important time. The important time was the next 6 hours that I was in my office, cleaning out my office, watching those 3 games we talked about. But I had a whole bunch of young men during that time walk up into my office and, you know, hug and say goodbye and move on. But those are hard. Those are hard times as a coach and nothing that you ever look forward to. I think these young men know me good enough that I made a decision that I needed to make, and it's hard. It's a difficult scenario, but that's where it is.
Gary, Kevin Hampton from the Gazette Times here in Corvallis. Regarding that previous question, did you talk to Chasen before, or did you have to talk to him along with the other players?
Chasen was in the team meeting room when he found out we were going to go. I want Chasen. Chasen is my son. He was with us as a walk-on at Wisconsin. He was there, and I wanted him. He always wanted to be part of the team, so I felt like it was important for him in that situation, and so did Stacy, for him to learn like his team did. And Chasen's a big boy. He's not a he's not a 14-year-old kid or a 12-year-old kid that's moving off to another area. He's going to be a sophomore in college, so he can handle his business. And I felt like it was important that he learned just like his football team did.
Gary, there are a lot of people.
Also, academic eligibility standards at Wisconsin was kind of brought up the other day. Was that a factor at all in your decision to come to Corvallis? Or?
I'm going to say this, and without going into anything, Wisconsin is a tremendous school, and it was an opportunity. But for me, Barry Alvarez is a Hall of Fame coach, and he's a Hall of Fame AD. And there's no ill feelings. There's no issues with me. Again, I simply saw an opportunity at Oregon State to be able to be involved with the kids that I think, and I hope and I pray that I want to be around a coach just like I had at Wisconsin. It's a tremendous opportunity that presented itself, and that's where we were told to go as a family.
Gary, there are a lot of people that think Corvallis is really hard to recruit to. There are different disadvantages, including you can't fly student athletes or prospective student athletes directly into town. How do you overcome those things?
Well, I would say much of the staff that we're going to put together grew up that way. If you look back to our time at Utah State, very similar town. You can say it's a negative because you got to drive here on a recruiting trip, or you can say it's a positive. And let's look at the city that we live in and the opportunity that the kids get to live in this environment, a safe environment in an unbelievable college atmosphere. And there's not many places like this from what I see in a very short period of time. It just brings me back to my days at Utah State. And I always felt, and I feel it the same here, is whether you fly into Portland or you fly into that other town. See, I'm no dummy. I can learn quick. You can use that as an advantage because you're kind of getting yourself into a secluded area where the student athletes, the students themselves, get themselves in a position of college where we're going to college and we get the true college experience. We get to be around the students. That's what the life is, and it's a small town where community is important. It's a small town where the young men and young women that are all in the university get an opportunity to get a chance to have special time together, where if you're in a big city going to school, you don't get that. It's not a commuter school. You don't wake up and drive to school and at 5 o'clock the doors close and the campus is, no one's around you. I'm sure it's pretty fun times to be around and be a college student here. So I look at those things as big time positives in an environment like this, and I've been around it, and I like my kids to go to school in places like this. Yes.
Coach Matt Walton, KPVR College Radio. It didn't take long after the announcement of your hire for an entrepreneur to start selling orange and black "No More Mr. Nice Guy" t-shirts. What about you personally and your coaching style do you think gives you the reputation as a tough guy?
I don't know. What does that mean? As a tough guy? I'm not going to talk about myself as a tough guy. Maybe when I was 295-pound center as a senior, I thought I was a tough guy. So, but that tape's all burnt now, so you can't see it. I've got a coaching style. Again, I love to be around kids, and you get to be 50 years old, almost 51 now. These kids keep me young, and I like to be in their world. I like to be part of them. They keep me going, and as the young men say in today's world, I like to keep it real. So that's who they are. That's what they're about. And so I don't know. I'm not going to sit here and pound my own chest of toughness. That's for sure. Hope we have a tough football team. I know that. That's it. Thank you very much. Go Beavs.